Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of Homebrew Buffonery. So tonight's edition is a brew day that's going to mainly focus on the use of the pump and the return valve that I showed in the last edition, the last technical edition. I've put together a bit of a recipe just using some old grains that I've got lying around. So I've got 900 grams of Maris Otter, I've got 350 grams of Vienna malt, and I've got 50 grams of Crystal 300, and I'm going to use Safale US05. Okay, so I'm at temperature now. It's currently 75 degrees, so with my experience of it dropping about 10 degrees, when I put the grain in, it should knock it down to 65, 66. I'll have my little burner on, just 5 o'clock side of 6 o'clock to keep it the temperature steady, and let's get it going. Okay, so amazingly we're bang on 66 degrees, burners on, and let's move on to getting the pump going. Okay, so if you remember, I've got a bazooka screen inside the stock pot there. There's my ball valve, which I'm going to open fully, and we can see the work coming through the pipe. I'm just going to open this valve a little bit more because we want the wort to go up the pipe, so we want to make sure that the pump is full, and then that's going to go quite fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, pump away. Okay, and we're off. That's making a bit of noise there. Let's just move that off there a little bit. So there's a very, very slight running coming out of there. I don't like why that's shaking a lot. But that seems to be going okay. And let's try and keep it on 66 degrees. And we'll go and have a look at the colour of the wort in a couple of minutes. See how cloudy it is. Okay, so here is the wort. It's already quite dark, a sort of amberish colour already. But it is quite cloudy. I only expect that to get darker and clearer as the hour goes on. This is 2 minutes into the mash now, and we'll have another check in half an hour or so and see what colour it is and what clarity it is then. Shut up. Shut up. Okay, so whilst the mash is on, I thought I'd just go through the sort of beer profile using the BJCP guidelines, and I've looked at a few based on the Brewer's Friend suggestions. There was an American Amber Ale, but I think the SARS I'm using, the SARS hops, so it's 15 grams at 45 minutes in the boil, doesn't sort of lend itself to that kind of style because they said they were very, very hoppy, and that's not it. I thought, oh, maybe another Belgian beer. But then they mentioned uses of different yeasts to what I'm using. So I've had a look through and I've come to a Vienna lager. And because there is quite a large proportion of Vienna malt in this brew, and it says, this is 7A in the BJCP guidelines 2015, and it says a moderate strength amber lager with a soft, smooth maltiness and moderate bitterness, yet finishing relatively dry. So that's okay. Characteristic ingredients of Vienna malt, which I've put in, provides a light, toasty and complex Maillard-rich malt profile. I'll have to look into that Maillard profile because I'm not quite sure what it is. As used with Mersens, only the finest quality malt should be used, along with Sarza type hops. And the other type of hops says is Styrians, which I've never heard of, so I'm using SARS. And like I say, I'm using 15 grams at 45 minutes in the boil. Can use some caramel malts, which I've got, about 300 Crystal, to add colour and sweetness, but caramel malts shouldn't add any significant aroma or flavour, so there's only 50 grams in there, so hopefully that won't matter. Flavour wise, it's saying soft, elegant malts is the forefront with a firm enough hop bitterness to provide a balanced finish. The malt flavour tends towards a rich toasty character without significant caramel or roast flavours. So that's okay, it seems quite good. The stats, I'm just slightly out on my Brewer's Friend stats. The IBUs are spot on, the colour is spot on, the final gravity is okay, but the original gravity is just a couple of points too high. The Brewer's Friend, it says it's going to be, the original gravity is going to be 1053 in the final 1011, which gives us 5.53%, 27 IBUs, 10 SRM colours, and that's just above the ABV for a Vienna lager, 5.53. The top range is 5.5, low range 4.7, but everything else is smack on. And so far, everything seems to be going well. So just whilst we're mashing, I thought we'd give you a quick tour to see how everything's holding up. So if we look at the ball valve there, the camlock and the camlock there, that's holding up, that's perfectly dry. I am marginally worried by this bit of air here, but there is flow of wort coming through. Remember that ball valve there is fully open, and then from here it's full all the way. I've put my little towel there because it was rattling my stove and I didn't like it. I suppose the pump's making a bit of noise, but it's not too bad. Valve partially open, and then the tube is fully full, and there's nothing coming out of that camlock there, and there's seems to be nothing bad happening here. I'm hoping you can see that the wort is starting to clear up. I think as well I may have been a bit lucky because I've put the outlet for the return directly opposite the ball valve, so when the wort gets returned back into the grain, it's not going to be pulling the returned wort straight back out and into the pump. So I think that's the best way of doing it, and hopefully it should get clearer and clearer. I just need to turn it up a midges. It's holding temperature reasonably well. It's just at 65 there, and I've just got my burner on just past 5 o'clock side of 6, and everything's going okay. Okay, so here we are halfway through. We're half an hour in, and this is the wort. You can see the colour there. That's significantly darker and more amber than what it was, and if we look, we can see how clear the wort is there. You can see right to the bottom of the jug. Okay, so we're into the mash now. That's 60 minutes. There is the colour, which is pretty dark. It's pretty clean. I wouldn't say it's clear. You can see the bottom of the jug still, but it's pretty clean, which is what we're looking for. Now then, so that goes back in there. So now what I need to do is get the wort first runnings from the pan into my other pan, and I've got a ton of piping and a ton of stuff, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. So first off, let's turn the pump off. Okay, and then let us close that valve there. So the water at the top, hopefully, and let's see if we can get because we're going to recirculate our sparge water. Okay, that's first runnings done. There's the cloth to wipe me the camlock, which I'm now going to reattach to my pump. Like that. Close that off. And just open that marginally. Now all I need to do is put a couple of kettles of water into sparge and recirculate for another 10 minutes. Yay! So that mess is over. That was Buffonery of the highest order, and what I've figured out is that I need to get an electric kettle element to heat the water, because that's just a nightmare. What I'm currently at now is I've got the sparge water recirculating. I'm going to leave it for 10 minutes to recirculate. Hopefully get that a little bit clearer. Then I'll take the grain out, add the first runnings back in, give it a whiz of a boil for an hour. 45 minutes of SARS hops. I'm going to use a bit more than end of a teaspoonful of whirl flock this time, maybe quarter of a teaspoon, quarter of a heaped teaspoon. Cool her down. Put her in fermenter with the USO5 and away she goes. Okay, so there's the sparge done. So now I just need to do, as before, get the wort out of these tubes, back into the pan, lift the bag out, get my colander under, and try and do it without making any mess. Buffoonery alert. Okay, so let's close that off, open that one. Okay, so that one's okay. Now we need to lift our bag out. Without causing a huge mess. It's really cloudy. Leave that in there. Sit there for a few minutes. Okay, so I've managed to get everything out, more or less, with only a few drips here and there. I've got my bag of grain just draining. I can hear it gurgling away with however much water's in the bottom of the pan there. I've got my first runnings down here on the floor, and they will go back into the pan, and then we'll stick her on the big burner once we've cleaned up round there and set off on the boil. Okay, so we're 15 minutes into our boil now. There it is, chugging away nicely. And there is my 15 grams of SARS hops in the bag. Not going to fall out. In we go. Another 30 minutes, and then I'll put a quarter of a teaspoon of whirl flock in. 15 more minutes after that, and then we'll leave it to stand for 10-15 minutes so I can have a sneaky shower, and then we'll start to cool her down. Okay, 15 minutes to go. There's me bit of an end of a spoon, quarter of a teaspoon of whirl flock. So in that goes, and bubbles away. Not sure what it does actually. I should really read up on that and find out what it does, shouldn't I? Okay, so it's been 15 minutes or so now, and most of the hops and stuff will have settled out of my wort. So all I need to do is pop it into my cooling pan and start the water running. What I will do is I'll show you how much rubbish is left at the bottom of the mash tun when it's been left to settle. And what I'll do is also, once it's cooled, is I'll give it another whirlpool, let it settle for 15 minutes or so, and then transfer it into the carboy, and we should get a lovely clear wort. So here we go. That comes out a lot quicker from this valve than it did from the other hose barb, I'll tell you that. So then it is a full half inch diameter tube in there to get the wort out. So there you see all the rubbish that is left at the bottom of my mash tun. That's basically hops and other stuff. Now there will be other stuff in there, but what I'll do is, like I said, I'll whirlpool it and let it settle out again, and then I'll auto siphon it into the carboy, which is there. Hello, Mr. Carboy. And we should get a nice clean, clear wort. Okay, so we're at pitching temperature now, and there's the wort. I'll just give it a whirlpool. It's just on its gentle last spin now. I'm going to take a sample for a gravity reading, and then I'm going to cover it over, leave it 15 minutes so as to clear all that rubbish up, and then I shall auto siphon it into the demijohn, and I'll put it under stirrers in that there brewery, which is now monitored for temperature with a thermometer hanging from wall, and it's currently at 18 degrees exactly, which is a good temperature for the old fermentation process to begin. So, yay! Okay, so I've taken a gravity reading and it was 1050, which is bang in the middle of style, so yay, that's good. So all I've got to do now is transfer the wort from there, using that, into there, pitch the US-05, stick her under stairs in that there brewery, and leave it for 2 weeks. What I will say is that I am going to leave it for 2 weeks this time, because I've been leaving it for a week, maybe 9 days, and I'm finding that the beer is cloudy, it was light hazy, and I'm not happy with that. I want to try and get the beer as clear as I can, so I'm going to leave it a little bit longer. It'll do no harm to the beer at all to leave it just those extra few days. So it's going to stay under the stairs in that there brewery for a full 2 weeks, and hopefully any muck that's left in the wort will drop out of suspension, and so it'll make it for a clearer beer in the bottles. But time to get transferring. Put that in there. Put that in there. And you know, it's lovely and clear again. Now what I do need to do is be very, very careful not to get the siphon into the muck and the trub that's on the bottom of the pan there. So I'm going to be very, very careful. But that is super, super clean and super, super clear, and I'm really happy. Okay, I have come up against a bit of an issue. I did my normal boil volume and all the nonsense and got as much out as I could, and I've got maybe 3.5 litres there. So I think I might have whirlpooled wrong and not left it long enough and just let the stuff settle out more. But I'll pitch the yeast. I'll pitch half the yeast in it, I think, and see how we go from there. So there we go, that's about half the yeast. It's quite disappointing really, that. Pop that in, give it a good shake, plenty of space for oxygen in there though. So, to summarise, the pump worked beautifully. I got a nice clear wort to start with. Sparge as usual, just put all the cloudiness back into it. If you've got any ideas why that is, just let me know please. I recirculated that. Need to find a way to get the wort out of the pipes without spilling it all over the stove. I think I might have to go to whole hog. It's nearly payday, so I might have to go the whole hog and set up my second pan in the infinite loop. Just never mind waiting a couple of weeks for this and a couple of weeks for that. Just get it set up and get it going. It's going to cost about 60 quid, I think, maybe 70 at the most. And I will consider getting an electric heating element as well, and maybe for a month later get a temperature controller for that, and we'll see how we get on there. That might be very interesting. But for now, there's Twinkles Viennese. That's all done. If anybody's actually watching this rubbish, you can like and you can subscribe, and you know, go out and create more beer than that.